Good morning, Mr. Martin. How are you?
Good. Doing well. Anthony, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Actually, it's not morning where you're at. It's what, two o'clock in Chicago?
2 o'clock. Yeah, we're sitting at the afternoon.
Got it. Got it. And so where's your office? And like I grew up in Detroit, and so me and my hood rat friends would venture to Chicago for heavy metal shows on occasion. Spent a lot of time in Elgin, ironically, because there was a great heavy metal venue in Elgin. But where is your office located?
Yeah, so we're actually in Downers Grove. I actually commute every week from Cleveland, Ohio, though, so I'm very familiar with the Michigan, Ohio, Midwest feel that you were going
Burning
through.
that I-80 corridor down, huh?
Yeah, exactly. We also traveled to Chicago for shows, more of the electronic variety, not as much heavy metal, but very, very familiar with that situation you were talking about. But yeah, so we are 30 minutes west of downtown Chicago. We are in a city called Oak Brook, Illinois, and we just moved here beginning of this. Actually, no, about 6 months ago.
Okay. Right. So you relocated from Cleveland.
No, so I fly in every week, actually.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So you moved, did you move to Cleveland from Chicago?
No, no. So I actually met Alex from my previous employer at Violand.
Okay.
They were a client, so I had met Alex through Violand.
Got
Actually,
it, got it.
yep, when he was a client.
Got it. Okay, okay, okay. Right on. Um, I almost ended up in a bar fight in Cleveland once.
Where at? Do you remember?
Oh, it was a brewery down by the river. It was a friend's bachelor party, and I'm like sitting there, as a guy from a dirty Midwest city, I'm talking to this bartender, and I'm like, and there's something weird about Cleveland people, man. Like they are nuts, like super passionate about Cleveland, and I don't get it. Like it's a dirty Midwest city. And
Yeah.
so I was like genuinely, and I had a couple beers, right? And I'm genuinely trying to understand like this guy's passion for his city. And, in typical Anthony Nelson fashion, I'm poking the bear any opportunity that I get. And I said something to like he said something about Cleveland and the cost of living. And I'm like, yeah, but you have to worry about the river catching on fire like every 25 years or something, right? And
Ooh.
he took that very personally.
Yeah.
It's like, if you ever talk about the river catching on fire again, and I was like, okay, man, sorry. And so we continued our dialogue. And then I can't remember what happened in the conversation, but it was a perfect layup for like a river on fire joke. And it was the right combination of alcohol in my system. And so I said something to that effect. And I'm like, oh, this is getting a little hot down by the shoreline or something like that. And he grabs a bar stool and chucks it across the bar and stomps his foot and he goes, get out. And I'm like, yes, sir. I'll see you later.
You had to take that. You saw the shot and you just had to take it, huh?
Yeah, I'm kind of an antagonistic SOB sometimes. So I just own it, right?
There you go.
All right. So you guys are going to come on and do a deep dive on your platform. Is it Albi or Albiware?
So it's Albi.
Albi. Okay.
Albi. Yep.
And I remember distinctly reading about the name, right? Because the name is an homage to an individual in Alex's family, if I remember correctly.
Absolutely, yeah. Spot on. So it's Alex's wife's mother, so his mother-in-law.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, grandmother was her nickname, I believe, was Albi, and he wanted to exactly do an homage to her, and that's where they came up with the name.
Okay. And what is that like? What's the significance there?
I believe it's just her nickname, I believe.
It was just her nickname. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm like mining for the meaning. And then what's your role?
So I'm the sales manager over here at Albi.
Okay. So what does what's a normal day look like for Zach Martin?
Ooh, normal day. So let's see, if I'm in the office, I'll wake up in the hotel literally about 10 yards across the street, and I will come over to the office to meet the team. We have a team of SDRs, which are guys that are doing emails and calls, and then our account executives are the guys that are running the demos. My typical day is dealing with all of them and answering any of their questions and trying to get the word out about Albi and spread the news, really.
Okay. And how how old? Like Albie's kind of new, right? What, 3, 4 years old?
I would say, yeah, somewhere around there.
Okay. And what was the, and I've had this bro down conversation with Alex before, but what was the vision? What was the grand purpose? Alex had a mission and a vision around the problems he was trying to fix. So shine a light into that dark corner for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Thank you. I mean, as a lot of people know, restoration is a very unique industry. A lot of people say their industry is unique. Restoration in my career is the one that I found that absolutely can say that. And as a restorer, Alex is extremely passionate about this industry, as most of the people in the industry, it creates a really awesome feel. And when Alex grew and scaled his restoration business, they used many industry specific and non-industry job management platforms. He felt that there was some great things about the industry specific ones, but also some gaps. And it's unfortunate because of the uniqueness of restoration industry and the involvement of insurance, the very specific workflow that restorers have to go through, that a lot of the other bigger software that were already out there for other contractors and other industries, for home services, they couldn't really fit quite right for restoration. And Alex wanted to build a system that was built specifically for restorers, but provide them with everything they need to run their business as almost a complete OS. That was the dream in the beginning, was to be able to take a phone call from a customer or someone that's worried about their house and just found out they have damage, and then follow that all the way through the process in one single system, and be able to provide all the feature and functionality they need to complete their job, do it well, and be profitable. Okay.
Well, how did you get started in restoration? You made a nod back to our brothers over at Violan. Give me the personal history, professional history on Zach Martin as it pertains to restoration.
Okay, I can do that. So I worked at Violan Management. Love the team. They're, highly respected, great people. I worked for Chuck Violand, who is an awesome human being. And during that time, Alex and his father, they ran their business from Xterra. They were clients of Violand at the time. I had met Alex just, nonchalantly over a year or two. And then during that time, he had been very busy working on Albi and building the system. And we had talked briefly, because I had worked before Violand at a prior SaaS and consulting company in the business continuity space. So had familiarity with SaaS platforms as well as marketing and sales for those platforms. So we started talking. I was actually working with him, consulting through Violand for a long time, about a year. And then Alex became so big. At these companies, you start as owner-led sales, right? So Alex was doing all the demos, everything like that. There's 5 people. And then you grow to a point where Alex can't really do demos anymore, and they needed to bring on an account executive. After trying to help him find one, we couldn't. And, I kind of threw out the idea like, hey, I would love to take this opportunity with you. We've worked so well together over this time that, let's work together full time and see what we can do. So that's how I came over to Albi and have been here ever since. But yeah, my first introduction was an awesome one through Violand.
Nice. Do you fly or do you drive?
Oh, I fly, brother. I fly. It's a 5-6 hour drive from Cleveland. That is not a commute I want to do. Yeah, one way.
And too many cops on I-80, if I remember.
Yeah. Especially around the state lines. But the flight is only 45 minutes. So it's literally up and down. I always call it the best flight in America.
I don't know. Maui to Honolulu is 23. So I might give you a run for your money.
A much better view.
Yeah. Well, it depends on the clouds. So found your love for the industry at Violand, doubled down, moved over with Alex. Why do you stay in the industry?
Yeah, so this is a question I love answering because I think it's a great question. And the one thing I found in restoration is it is a very, I would say there's a type that gets into restoration, right? they're usually very family oriented, people who love to help other people and just want to do what they do and want what they do to be helping people, helping other people, helping others come over great tragedies, and get them back to before something had happened to their house and they had this huge thing mess up their lives. I found that in my experience, those people have such a great heart. And it seems to be from most of, if not all the people I've talked to in the industry, have that sort of, have that sort of outlook and demeanor that they're just very kind people who want to help others, which is, in stark contrast to something like roofing. Not to bash on roofing, but I've noticed that, if you talk to a roofing owner and a restoration owner, they're usually different in the way they go about things in general. And I've had so many good relationships with different restorers and just really love the profile of the people that I've worked with the entire time, and how almost everybody in the industry, again, they're just wanting to help other people, and that's why they got into this.
Yeah. And it is an industry that is self-cleaning, right? Like if you don't have an element of altruism about your personality, it's a very uncomfortable place to be. And so
Yes.
a lot of the times if folks don't survive in the industry, I'm like, like a little manifest destiny nod, right? Like, okay. Yeah,
The culture picks them out. Yep.
Yeah.
The one thing I found too is that almost everybody's entry into restoration themselves is a very unique story.
Yeah.
Because no one grows up like, I want to be a restorer, right? I
Yep.
didn't know what restoration was until I started at Viola, and probably like 3 months after. Then I really got what it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I found, because I asked this question a lot, like, how'd you get into restoration? And, you'll hear so many different stories about how people found this industry and then either fell in love and started the business, or it's just always a very interesting path that people take to get into this industry. Because like I said, no one grows up I want to be a restorer, right? Most people don't know what it is. And I think a large majority of the public doesn't, but there's this secret force of people out there trying to help other people get their lives back.
Yeah, I agree. So looking at the existing group of customers that you have at Albi, because our intention in doing the deep dive series is to help cast visibility on the variety of solutions that exist out there for job management for our member customers. And then, like our Facebook lives, I try and make sure we keep them educational. So if somebody decides to tune in and actually listen to you and I go back and forth, they leave a little smarter, right?
Yeah.
So what type of restorer makes a good Albiware customer?
Yeah, so I mean, you can look at it two different ways, right? Like you're gonna have a mindset customer, and then demographically. I would say a majority of the customers we serve are that $1 to $7 million range of restoration company, usually 5 to 20 employees. Though we have customers that are bigger and smaller than that. I would say that's our bread and butter, right? As far as the mindset goes, which I think really differentiates a lot of our customers, is those restorers that are constant, like just obsessed in getting better, building their business, scaling that business, and finding the best way to do it. We've noticed that those prospects, that when we get on a demo, if they ask a lot of questions, and it's just them asking questions, almost always they are exactly what we would call an ICP, ideal customer profile, because it's those restorers that are looking for the right answer to their problem and using technology to solve that, but not scared of change, right? They just want to make it the best that they can, and they're looking for a solution that answers that specific problem. And they're willing to change whatever so that they can make their business better, run more efficient, more profitable, and scale quicker. But other than that, yeah, we serve restorers in general. I think the mindset is a huge separator from what we've seen, as well as there's some demographic information that but I think the majority of the industry probably falls in that same demographic information area too.
Got it. And then do you find that most of your customers are recovering from an experience of another platform, or they're kind of starting from zero and they don't have anything and they're shopping and trying to find the right fit?
So yeah, there's two unique sets there. There's definitely one that's pen and paper. Their dad did pen and paper. They do pen and paper. You know, they've been doing it for years, and they just reach some event that they're like, I can't. You know, we got to go digital.
Yep.
So there's definitely that persona. There is also a persona of those that have been burned by other technology companies in and outside the industry, had horrible experiences onboarding or training their employees. That is probably a majority of a lot of our customers, where they come on board or they're scared. I wouldn't say scared, but they have something in the back of their mind like, well, let's talk about onboarding, because they have had horrible experiences onboarding with other programs, maybe not even just one, maybe one, two, or three. So that's something that we see a lot. And, you know, we created our onboarding process to be basically the antithesis of that, because of what we started hearing of how their experience was onboarding, because how you start is one of the most important things about getting onto a software, so you can get that adoption throughout the entire organization.
So what does onboarding look like for you?
So onboarding, we, on average, about 30 days. There are different levels of onboarding. Like for enterprise accounts, we go on site. But what we try to do we understand. We believe that if your guys don't understand it, they won't use it, and if they don't use it, the organization gets no value out of it. So what defines our onboarding compared to everyone else, I would say, is we focus specifically on education, and not just the owner or the managers, right? We focus on the technicians. We want to show them exactly what Albi is bringing to them in the field and why they want to use it, the value it provides to them. Not just the higher ups that are saying, hey, use this new software now. But we want to make it as turnkey as possible too. So I always call our onboarding all inclusive, right? So the data transfer, the setup, the configuration of the system, the training of the employees. And along with believing in education, we train everybody that's on or in the organization at the time they come on Albi, but also anybody they hire in the future. Because again, we don't want that. We want to build that into the culture so that everybody's using the system and the business can get the most out of it. And I would say our focus in onboarding is really that, trying to make sure that they have someone there to answer their questions so that they can implement this change successfully throughout the organization.
Got it. And then who's not, like, sometimes I think we define ourselves by the customers we say no to, right? So who's not a good fit?
Yeah, so customers that won't change, people who don't like change, or they want something that fits the exact thing in their mind, and if it's a little bit different, they're like, well, we don't want this anymore, right? That's happening. We're you know, we can do this, but it's just gonna be a different way than you're doing it now, and that's, you know, not acceptable. So some people that don't like change may not really find our program great. People that, I would say the other one is going to be very, very super large businesses. We do have things to offer there, but sometimes our functionality isn't the deepest in every area that they may need. The one thing we do offer is integration, usually it's through a third-party API so that they can connect to those programs. But sometimes we found that, you know, very large organizations doing commercial or something, that may not really fit. May not fit on Albi's platform the best, though some have found that as well. I would say probably those two things are the biggest, usually defining factors of people that aren't really big into Albi.
Got it. And you said the dirty word of integration, not me. I want to make sure that you're aware that you've invoked.
I forgot I was on with you. I'm sorry.
So what platform? So I know, like in a world where you have open API architecture, the answer to who do we integrate with is usually whoever wants to integrate with us, right? It's their problem, not mine. So fuck it. My question for you though is more top 5, right? What are the top 5 integrations that you see your current customers leveraging with success?
Ooh, yeah. So top 5 integrations right now, obviously QuickBooks, right? Got to have an accounting system. Got Company Cam and Circle. Our other one's going to be Zapier as well. Okay. And then for those clients that do a little roofing, we also have like an Eagle View as well.
Oh, okay.
So
Right
I'd
on.
say, yeah, those are our top 5.
So I'm going to scratch the Zapier itch for a little bit, because that's like saying, you know, you integrate with email. Like, where do you see your customers leveraging that Zapier integration for? Is it is it on the customer communication side? Is it internal? Is it like, I know for us, when we did our software architecture roadmap and I went down that crazy rabbit hole, we leveraged the Zapier connection from InCircle to auto input field notes from InCircle into Dash, because call it a back end Dash integration.
Yeah.
And that's my limited exposure to Zapier, but I'm familiar with the capabilities of it. And it's always one of those things where I'm like, it's like, and in one way it's Pandora's box, because it's unlimited. Like, where do you want it to go? you know?
Yep.
But speak to that. Where do you see your customers leveraging that Zapier connection?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We see it in 3 places mainly, and that's going to be production efficiency and automation. So task workflows. The other one's going to be customer onboarding. So imagine someone signs a work off, or maybe they get a call and you schedule an appointment. It shoots them an email from the owner of the restoration company saying, hey, this is Zach from Acme Restoration. We're sorry to hear about what happened. We're on our way over, and then provides them steps. So that's something we can do through Zapier, right? Automating communications that will be sent to customers. The other one is going to be referral sources. So automating any communications or internal notifications or tasks with Zapier to referral sources. If you wanted to send them a handwritten card, or you wanted to, start automating a email to the referral source saying, hey, we just started work on this project. And then another one, after you get the COC sign, goes out and says, hey, we just completed work on this referral. Thanks so much, Jim, referral source. So mainly in those 3 areas, right? And I think that's the value that Zapier provides, is it is extremely flexible. And you can, implement it in wherever you find the most valuable for your business, whether that's internal or external communications.
On the internal production, customer communication, and communication with referral sources. Give me an example on the production, because you gave me an example of the other 2, but the production one, I need to know, like, how are people using it internally?
Yeah, and I think this is one of the best ones that people and that restorers could utilize even more is, so you have the task assignment workflow, right? You can use Zapier for that with Albi. Let's say you scheduled your first appointment for your tech to go over there, and now it's going to assign him 5 tasks, right? Contact the homeowner, arrive at the homeowner's house, get the work off signed, place the equipment, right?
Yeah.
So you can do those type of things. You can also intermingle that with, hey, Mary, Jim the technician is 10 minutes away. He's on his way over, right? So doing internal automation with that, as well as assigning different parts of the process. So after it goes to in production, I'm sorry, maybe once it completes production, you send an email to your accountant that says, hey, this project has been completed. We need to get the invoice out.
Got it. Okay.
Internal that communication within the company, so that someone doesn't have to actually send the email and say, hey, we just finished this, right? So
got it. So, like, for my Dash brain, it would be like you would leverage Zapier as the communications end of the compliance manager, so to speak, right? Like, you guys have your own version of compliance and task automation built into the platform, but the notification side would be leveraged through Zapier.
Yeah, so the workflow automation that you're familiar with in Dash, we use Zapier to being assigned, and then the other side of that's going to be the communication internally or externally, right? It's about how creative you want to get and where you want to take these repetitive actions or manual actions that people are taking over and over on each project, and you're like, man, I wish someone could automate that, right? Yeah. It's sending an email, those type of things as well, but also the tasks. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Sorry, I know we went into the weeds there, but I can't stop my brain. So what questions do you have for me?
Interesting. I would be interested, I think, to hear from you, since you are involved with a number of different restorers, especially in the position that you are now and helping them. What are the software challenges you're hearing from your customers?
Overwhelmingly, why doesn't X talk to X? I'm required to use X platform. Why can't it work with my existing software architecture? And in
The
my own,
integration.
yeah, like by far and above, right? And usually what happens is that precipitates a conversation on a platform change, right? Everybody always wants to make sure that they have the correct tech stack for their business. And since a lot of restorers aren't just restorers, right? They're also duct cleaners, carpet cleaners, indoor air quality inspectors, right? Like there's a million other things that fall into that bucket. Finding the right tech stack that works for their business and provides scalability to their business is a big decision. One of the things that we talk a lot about when evaluating technology changes, and we did this at our strategic planning workshop last fall, was actually calculating the ROI of a technology change. Because there's a formula that you can use to go ahead and evaluate, like, is this a change I should make right now or not? And I'll pick on Kahi, right? Just because I know you guys are friends with Kevin, and I love the product and everything, and the value proposition is easy to calculate from a math perspective. And there's a few nuances in there that people miss. So number one, it's the cost of the software, right? You need to know exactly what it's going to cost to implement, from a hardware and a software as a service perspective, right? There's one-time costs and then there's recurring costs that come into that. And then you need to know what the labor cost of implementation is going to be. And this always tends to be something that people miss. And you have to do it from a swag perspective, right? Like I love the fact that you talked about onboarding and how you handhold your customers through the different steps of implementation. But me as an employer, I have to pay people to listen to you and get educated as a part of that platform change. So it shows up in column B of my ROI calculation, right? And so there's all of that. And I put that into two different buckets as well. I put it into one time and then reoccurring as well, right? And really in the reoccurring bucket, what I'm looking for is my current platform takes this much out of my team every month to maintain. Does this platform reduce how much it takes for me to maintain, right? Because we have a lot of we assume that going from A to B will eliminate our dependency of time in this bucket, but a lot of the times it doesn't as much as we might think, right? Now, in the value creation side of the column, right, we have how much time do we expect to gain back in efficiencies on a reoccurring basis. And that's the mainstay of what a technology change should give us as restorers. And so using Kahi as kind of the resident example of this, you have the cost of the one-time cost of the sensors, the one-time cost of the vehicle gateways, the warehouse gateways, right? You have what the software costs on a reoccurring basis. You have the time to install sensors on the equipment and set up the original system. So then that way you have visibility in the way that you want to showcase it, whether that's a monitor in your office or, whatever. Like everybody has their own flavor around that. And then whatever the education you want to put forth to the team on adopting this new technology. So let's say you run a small team, right? 5 technicians at 1.5 hours per technician times whatever their fully burdened rate is, right? And that's the part of this equation that most people miss. On the flip side, what do you gain, right? And this is the greatest argument, right? Because, and I'm going to probably sell some Kahi customers in this conversation, but there's like, okay, so everybody looks at Kahi and they go, look, I implement this thing so I don't lose equipment, right? That's the traditional restorer mindset. So what they do is they go, okay, I usually lose about 10 pieces of equipment a year at X price per piece of equipment fully landed. and that shows up in my benefit column. I think the big miss, and this is something that I can't talk enough about, is how much time do you get back, right? So take the example of 10 minutes per job, right? The simple fact that dudes in the field or ladies in the field do not have to write down equipment numbers anymore. That step is gone. How many jobs do you do a year? Let's say you do 1,000 jobs, right? Times 10 minutes per job times your fully burdened rate. The value proposition gets pretty automatic, and it just becomes a question of, do you have the capital to implement or not, right? And so, sorry, I know we went down a big, deep, dark. You asked the freaking question, man.
No, you're good. So we actually built an ROI calculator to show that now we do an unburdened rate. It's just like, hey, you know, how many hours a week are you losing to having to transfer from Encircle to X job management platform, and you pay them $20 an hour, right? So we do an ROI calculator just that same way, because it helps people. I think when your value prop is different than we'll make you $1 million, like it's different than we'll make you money, and it's just an efficiency thing. People have a hard time sometimes being like, well, is it really going to save me money? Is it really going to save time? And I think that exactly like what you said, right? Bring it back to the data. How many hours? How much are you paying them? Now look at the whole job. Just not admin, but also the techs. What if they save 15 minutes a job over an entire year? How many, right? That can really paint a different picture of the value of the software in a much different way. So I'm totally on there with you.
And there's, you know, you have to factor in the intangible things a little bit too, right? When I reflect back on, you know, my experience with Premier, we had almost 100 technicians in the field. So, you know, call that 2/3, if not greater, of our total headcount as an employer.
Yeah.
Sorry, I would move heaven and earth to put smiles on people's face, even if it didn't result direct, you know, like, even if I couldn't quantify it resulting in direct dollars, because I knew if everybody was happy, they just worked 10% harder, right? Yep. And so when we looked at what our mobile platform was going to be at the time, which was 2018, you know, we evaluated all the current platforms and ended up landing on Encircle, and we couldn't pencil out the ROI because there wasn't an efficiency gain. Like, it's not like the guys got faster at inputting information in the mobile app. If anything, it cost us more time because we were capturing more data, and we didn't really know and understand and value what the throughput of that data would equate to in efficiency and the ability to project on our business and all that kind of stuff. It was just new data we weren't capturing that we were going to capture. But the intangible factor was, I could give that software platform to one of my technicians, and most of our technicians here in Hawaii, like, they didn't have smartphones when they started working for me. They were like operating off a flip phone. And so for them to be like, boss, well, this thing makes sense. Yeah. Just be able to click through it. I'm like, done. And then our director of IT, Simone, was like, and I'm like, you got to make this work for everybody else in the company. And he's like, oh man, really? And I'm like, yes, because it works for 2/3 of our company. It just works out of the box for 2/3 of our company. And so as much as you can apply, you know, like, you leverage the data to the best of your ability, but you also have to take into consideration your intuition as an owner, your knowledge of your workforce. And this is why, like, as an operator, I challenged myself to spend time in the field every quarter, because I never wanted to lose that connectivity with what it was like to produce product in the field. And I loved it. Like, if I'm being honest, like, I'd rather do that than just about anything. Like, and I always be like, guys, what do you need help with today? They're like, boss, we got to demo this gnarly shower. I'm like, sweet.
Sounds good.
I'll do it. And
on my
like,
way.
And like, you know, the guys are like, oh, the boss is a hammer. Watch out for him, right? But yeah. Anyway, I went off on a rant. I miss those days. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I get it. I love it, man. It's good to have passion about what you do. I think that's one of those things that we talked about in staying in restoration. People have passion for what they do, and it's awesome to be around people that are just like glad to be doing what they're doing and want to be better at it. Like, that is you know, not a lot of industries I've ever found that are like that. And
yeah,
you know,
it's definitely not Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
that's for freaking sure, man.
Something different every day, man. New challenges.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to host you guys on our deep dive series coming up on Thursday for all of our Pivot members. And I would encourage anybody that's evaluating a software change to go ahead and check out your platform just because it's new, it's upcoming. It's been, like, in all sincerity, it's been a couple of years since I looked at it. I know you guys are constantly evolving, growing, and innovating. That's probably why Alex's hair is always pushed backwards, because he's running so fast into the future.
Yeah, he is moving forward.
Yeah. So, and thank you for helping us help our members. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us on and letting us tell you a little bit about what we're doing over here. And I look forward to coming on and doing the deep dive.
Sounds great, man. Any closing thoughts you'd like to leave us with?
No, I think, I think you nailed it pretty well there, especially in terms of what's different from us than anyone. The one thing we want to do is move fast and innovate. Our mission, propel the restoration industry forward. And that's what we come in to do every day. So
awesome, man. All right. Well, we'll see you on Thursday. And thanks to our Facebook crowd for tuning in today. Aloha.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Bye, Anthony.